So Scott, tell us how you're gonna integrate Retül technology with body geometry fit, process and specialized.
Sure. So body geometry fit is exactly what you said. It's a process. It's a methodology. You know, it's an entire process that Specialized Bicycle Components University, or SBCU, teaches to our retailers. It's a process of how to fit, how to assess a rider, what makes them unique, what their strengths are, what their capabilities are, and what they're, and then associating that with their goals and how they ride their bike to come up with the best combination of human and bicycle. Retül builds fantastic fitting tools. So they build motion capture technology. That's what they got started with and really put them on the map. And then over the last few years, they've been building hard tools like size cycle, the move for adjusting and simulating bikes, as well as tools like the angle that allows us to just move a handlebar millimeters and be able to dial things in. So they're a company that builds fantastic tools. Those tools can very easily be assimilated into the body geometry process, making a fitter's job easier. So we use the technology to tell the fit technician what it is that they're seeing in the rider's motions, and then the fit technician can make better fitting decisions.
And do you recommend for the guys who have made Retül fit to do it again with the body geometry process incorporated? Do you think it's worth to make the fit again?
Well, you know what, that's a good question, but the way to think about it is that fit is always dynamic. You as an athlete, you are changing over time. The way you ride may change, injuries come and go. So I think it's a good idea to be fit multiple times throughout your career anyway, regardless of who the fitter may be. I think that the strength that body geometry fit technicians have is that they're going to really understand the rider. They're going to understand everything from how their feet interface with the bike to the size of the saddle that they need. Really looking at all the contact points, because body geometry is designed to work around the hand, the feet, the saddle, and then incorporate that all into the fitting process. So body geometry fit technicians have an advantage that they have all of those products available to them, and that might be an advantage that not all fit technicians have.
And many athletes just think about the fitting process after they buy a bike.
Yeah.
So tell me about the importance of thinking about this before you buy a bike.
That's a really cool question. So I like to think of fitting in two ways. One is what I call a clockwise sale. So if somebody is buying a bike and they're thinking about how they're going to purchase their bike, if they do the fitting first and they use the fitting to help them decide what bike to buy, and then they also use the fitting to decide on the saddle, maybe what type of pedals they're going to use, what the handlebars need to be, they're going to end up with a better fitting bike to start with, and they'll probably end up spending less in the long run because they're not going to end up with a saddle that they don't need or handlebars that they don't need. It's perfectly fine a lot of times to purchase a bike first and then come and have it fitted, but sometimes you run into limitations. There's a difference between the way a Roubaix fits versus a Venge, and we can actually use the fitting to determine which one of those bikes might fit you better.
And it's not unusual here in Brazil to see people spending thousands of dollars in a bike, but they don't want to spend $100 on a good fit. What kind of advice you would say to those people?
Well, first of all, I'd say that it's not unique to Brazil. We see a lot of people who will easily spend $2,000 on a set of wheels, but they won't spend $300 on getting their fit right. And we see that in the US all the time. And I think that that's just the thing that I would try to keep in mind, especially for triathletes or people who are wanting to go faster. One, for aerodynamics, your body is roughly 80% of the drag, the wind resistance. So one of the most efficient things that you can do is have a fitting done where your body is in a good position. And you can save more time and get more speed out of that few $100s than you can out of a set of wheels or a helmet. Next to that, the efficiency and the biomechanics that can be attained easily can add up to more speed than equipment can. So honestly, it's a fairly inexpensive way to make yourself faster, and it's also a really good way to make sure that you're going to be able to participate in the sport for a long period of time, because proper fitting also will help in injury prevention. And especially for triathletes that are swimming and running and cycling, injury prevention can go a long way. You're not very fast when you're injured.
And last question, we've been working with a lot of pros in cycling of triathlon, and what are your main lessons from all those years working with those guys with bike fitting, and what you're learning, what you think is the main lesson from all those years?
Well, one thing that's pretty interesting about working with all the pros over the years is that they're just like the rest of us in terms of the issues that they have when they ride. Professional riders have the same problems. Some of them think that a bike saddle is the worst thing ever invented, yet they're professionals and they sit on it all day because they've never been comfortable on saddles. Or they have knee pain, or their neck hurts. The main difference is that they're just a lot faster than most of us. So I think that the one thing that's really important to keep in mind is that the same process that applies to professional is just as important for that novice rider, that person that's new. In fact, a lot of times I think it's more important, because the professional has already committed to being a cyclist or an athlete. The new rider has a lot of things, a lot of reasons as to why cycling might not be fun when they're getting started. So if they get on a new bike and it's not comfortable, they're not happy, the chances are they might not stay in the sport. And I think that that's one of the most key things, is that as a beginning rider, a fit is probably as or more important than the equipment that you end up buying.